got 4A and 4 Okay. You got Z and you got back out.
All right, we don't have Facebook and everybody can hear?
This is Catherine at SGM. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yep.
So we're ready?
I think so.
I'm just checking.
Test, right?
I'd like to call this regular town board meeting to order for Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Here.
Trustee Hartz,
Here.
Trustee Katzos,
Here.
Trustee Moreland,
Here.
Trustee McLaurin, Trustee Cesaro, and Mayor Ah.
Here. All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance. Does the board have any conflicts of interest?
No.
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 General public input for anything that's not on the agenda?
Lucy Stewart, 128 North Appaloosa. I guess I'm kind of confused on that Hager property and how it's, that's okay, how the access and all that is, and kind of really concerned about how you have that driveway that's going to come out right into that intersection between the gas station and the nursing home. And having walked that many mornings, I can just see disaster. The kids trying to get on the bus, or the bus is trying to get across, or coming through the cars. And people drive like crazy. They don't follow or obey the road the way it should be at this point. And I didn't realize that that was going on. I don't know how DOT approved that entrance or exit, whatever it's going to be, but I think we are looking at some big, major issues. And I know, some of you weren't sitting on that board, but I think we all need to keep our eyes open, because I can see disaster happening. I can see us flooding out in the spring after all this snow. And I've been talking to the neighbors and letting them know, and I've been talking to other neighbors in the other subdivisions because of the water. And they say that when they have talked to people down at the town, they say, oh, there's no issue with the water. Hello, we all know there's big, major issues. And I think it's something that before people start building, doing any more things, I think this stuff needs to be addressed. And I think the community needs to be informed of what is and isn't going on. Because it's all this stuff going on is like a big surprise now. So I really would like you guys to, I don't know, whatever input you have, but I think that needs to be addressed, that where people are going to pull out. It's not far enough from that intersection for the kind of traffic that comes through there. Thank you.
Lucy, I do know that there is going to be a second egress out of that neighborhood. It just is not in the first part of the plan, just FYI. There's going to be more than one way to go in and out of that neighborhood.
Yeah, I realize there's two
Okay.
ways, but what I'm talking about is the one that's right in the
current one.
The current,
Yeah.
no, not the current one, the one they're building up that comes out right at the gas station.
Gotcha.
And that intersection there, that is way too close to be in anybody's safety. You ought to, if you ever have a chance, go, you can park even at the gas station and pay attention how the people drive through there, and buses trying to get those kids safely to school. I don't understand how the DOT even approved that. There's something funky going on, and that needs to be addressed.
Hi, my name's Paige Ludwig. I live at 9002 County Road 521. You see Rick up here all the time talking about stuff for the ditch. Tonight we are here for a personal issue. I don't know how aware you guys all are of the problems that we've been having with the Mustang Crossing subdivision. The entire 35 acres of that subdivision borders our north fence line. From the very beginning, when we were presented with the plans for the subdivision, we've had problems with it. The main issue that we're having is the sediment basins, which is the stormwater issue, the ongoing stormwater issue. We were speaking with the developer engineer, which is Paul O'Neill from SEH. We have a friend who is also an engineer that was helping us, and we were addressing our concerns with the developer engineer, and we were working on the project trying to find something that worked for both of us. And then the town's engineer sent an email to Paul O'Neill at SEH and said that he did not need to appease the Ludwigs and the original plan was fine. So we thought we were working with them, and then they just stopped talking to us. And next thing we know, the project is under construction, the stormwater ponds are installed, and construction started on the project without the stormwater ponds being complete and without a discharge structure in place. Because the town does not have a stormwater pond, they don't have the teeth to enforce any of this stuff. So I'm asking, one, that's something you guys need to address for future development. From the day those ponds were put in, we have had nothing but problems. The runoff from the irrigation ditches, the stormwater issues, every single bit of water that used to run through that property, which this section right now is 20 acres, used to soak through there, is now directed into one corner, and it all discharges directly into us. Unfortunately, it is also not very far from the discharge of the Mesa Meadows Pond. So we have two ponds discharging on our property. This pond doesn't work. It's not working properly. It has not worked before or after the discharge structure was put in place. We've had two independent engineers come and review the plans, walk the site with us. They all agree that it's not sufficient, that it's not working. We have tried to speak to the developer through his attorney and through his engineer. Nicole actually set up a meeting. We all joined on Zoom. We had the Division of Water Resources was here. Some concerned people from the Haga property came. We all talked about it. Basically, we were told, we've got approved plans, they're stamped, it meets all the requirements. You know, I don't know what to tell you, but this is what it is. Well, I'm here to ask for your help because it's not working. And not only is it not working, it's destroying our property. And right now, there's no development. As soon as houses are being built, driveways are going to be paved, houses are going to be built, there's going to be even less absorption of that water through that 20 acres. That means more stormwater coming on us. The discharge structure that's currently in place does not meet the plan requirement. It's been altered by the contractor. I don't know who's responsible for inspecting it to make sure that it meets the guidelines that were approved. But we have two engineers that said it's not going to work, and it's not working. We've met with representatives from the town of Bayfield. They've come out there. By sheer dumb luck, the contractor was there one day. We all agreed it's not working. It's not discharging water as it should be. It never completely drains. It's a slow leak that comes out of that pond. So our field never gets a chance to dry up. And not only is it leaking from the discharge structure, the berm is not constructed properly, so it leaks from the berm as well. We were not able to get a second crop of hay, and now our cows are home from the summer range. They have to graze there. We have nowhere else for them to go. That field is nothing but a bog, and now that the cows are home, it's destroyed. And in order to reclaim that land, which was our best hay field, is going to cost thousands of dollars. And this problem's only going to get worse. Not only for us, but for the people that are downstream from us. Because as it goes through our field, it's going to go directly to the people downstream's homes. And as the volume of water increases, the damage to their property is also going to increase. I know you guys weren't the people that approved the plan, but we're asking you to take a look at it. Every single agency that we have talked to, the EPA won't touch it because it doesn't affect the tribe. They said it falls under the purview of the CDPHE. The CDPHE said they only talk about water quality, not quantity. They said that's the Division of Water Resources. The Division of Water Resources said they have laws that say they can't do this because it's causing damage, but they don't have anything in place to actually enforce it. The CDPHE did a inspection per my request. It took them 3 months to get down here. They have 20 pages of violations for things that they're not doing properly on this site. They came back in September or October, first part of October. They did another inspection. The report is 24 pages long this time. They have not met any of the requirements. And I have an email from Al Stafford, who is in charge at the CDPHE, and he says, this final report includes findings for not maintaining the sediment basins and also for the sediment bases being inadequately sized. This was constructed based on Eric's recommendation, the town's engineer. Everybody we've talked to just points the finger at somebody else. Everybody says, well, we can't do anything about it. It's wrong, it's not working. Nobody's willing to take responsibility, and nobody's willing to help us do anything to fix the problem. And it's a serious problem. It's affecting us, it's going to be affecting all the people downstream from us, and it's only going to continue to get worse. And if you guys don't do something to update your planning or your approval process or your requirements that you hold the developer, the standards that you hold them to, this is going to be a problem for any other properties, for any new subdivisions that are created. You're dealing with it with us, you're dealing it with the Haga property, you've got it with the Dove Ranch property. Something needs to be done. So we are asking for help. We're asking you to review it, to inspect it, to do whatever you can. The structure is not the structure that we thought it was going to be. The structure is not working. The contractors modified the structure. The pond never empties. It doesn't meet the guidelines. We're in a water critical area. The water doesn't go back to the river. None of the requirements, none of the laws that are supposed to be being upheld are being upheld. And everybody agrees it's a problem, everybody agrees it's not working, but nobody's willing to say, yes, you're right, we're gonna make the developer fix this. And that's what we're asking for from you guys, because it seems like you might be the only ones that can provide some assistance. We talked with the contractor. One of his suggestions was maybe rerouting the discharge into the existing stormwater drainage system, which would then take the water over to the Mesa Meadows pond, and then at least we would only have one pond discharging on us instead of two. The other thing is the filtration system in the Mesa Meadows pond is much more functional than the non-existent filtration system in Mustang Crossing. If anybody's interested in looking at pictures or going through this, we have a ton of pictures, we have a ton of emails, we have the reports from the CDPHE which are available for public viewing. I can give you a copy of the report, I can give you the link to the reports. It has the entire history of all the violations, what's been done, what hasn't been done. They only handle this through the construction phase. They are getting ready to turn this over to their code enforcement division because they haven't fixed the problems. And they've had plenty of time to do it. So we're kind of at our wits' end. We don't know where to go. We don't know where to turn to. We don't know who else to ask for help. We've reached out to our state representative. We've reached out to our federal representative. Everybody says, oh, that's not right. They can't do that. The law says this, but nobody's willing to do anything to make it right. So that's what we're here tonight to ask you guys. For one, if it's something that you could step in and take a look at, and for two, to really review your process for future developments, because this problem just keeps happening and it's going to get worse. So the people downstream, it's not going to go through their field, it's going to go through their homes. There's already one house that's down off the side of the hill that has a 10, 15-foot concrete retaining wall right outside their house. That concrete wall is cracked and it is moving. It's going to fall into their home. Their insurance will not cover it because they don't have whatever specific rider that they need to for the earth moving. And now they can't get insurance because it's an existing problem. They could potentially lose their entire house to this. They can't get a contractor to come in, even talk to them about fixing it. Serious problems. Other people, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to go right through their homes.
Well, I would definitely like to see a copy of that report,
I
for
can-
sure. And, you know, definitely follow up on that.
So, yeah, and in the current report that they've got, it's 24 pages, and it's also got a ton of photos
That-
of all
that's
of,
fine.
well, not all, but a lot of the problems that they've done. They did not have silt fences installed. They didn't have drainage. They filled in an irrigation ditch, which they weren't allowed to fill in. Then the water was running through the property.
I mean, you could go probably
Yeah, I
on
could
and on
for
and on about it.
hours.
I'd rather just see the report
Yeah.
and read it for
So
myself.
they don't talk about all of those issues because they're only talking about the stormwater
Gotcha.
quality.
Okay.
That's
Well,
all
if
the
you want to
CDPHE
send all
does.
that information
So,
along with that,
I
then
can
I'd be happy
email
for that.
you
Yep.
the information.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all would
If
like
you
to
could
have
mail
it.
to Katie.
You'll just email it to me. I'll
Okay,
email
then
it
she
to all
can get it
7
to
of
everybody.
them.
Yeah,
And
and
it'll have-
include all that information that you have in there. I just feel like, you know.
Yeah, we're running out of
yeah.
time. I also have literally.
I care, trust me. I
Yeah,
want to know
thousands
about
of
it, but I
photos
think this
that
is a
will
longer
sup-
problem
right.
than
Thousands of
tonight's
photos that'll
time could
support
do.
everything that we're saying. So I can email her the link. It'll have the initial report.
Yep.
It'll have the subsequent report, and then if they do anything else, it's the same login to
Perfect.
access all of that information. So what we're asking for, basically, some help from you. Hold the developer's feet to the fire. See if somebody can make him fix this problem, and to think about future developments, because this is a problem that needs to be addressed.
We'll definitely take a look at it.
Okay.
Thank you for telling us.
Thank you.
You're still on.
Could we potentially hold up lot sales on some of those?
Well, I think this is a little more complicated. I think we really need to have all the right stakeholders
Right.
in the room to have this conversation, because we are not the authority over the stormwater permit at this point. So I can see if I can just schedule them all to be in the room. And that includes the Division of Water Resources, because I think that's also another player.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, what the reason we came to you guys is because this whole thing was approved by Eric. He's the one who stopped the progress on us working on a different discharge system. And in his email, it specifically says, you do not need to appease the Ludwigs, the original plan is sufficient.
And I don't know who Eric is.
The town's engineer. The town's
Oh,
engineer.
Eric Kirch, okay.
Yeah, and our attorney exercised the Public Information Act, and Nicole provided all of those emails to him, so all of those Nicole's emails are available, so you guys can review that conversation as well.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good luck.
Jason,
It doesn't
what's
want to
up?
go up.
You to stay up high enough. There you go. I'm Jason Winslow. I'm from 606 Del Ranch Road here in Bayfield. I'm here to introduce myself to Mr. Mayor, Board of Trustees, and the rest of the community. I applied for the town manager job this morning, and I just wanted to make sure you have a face to put with the name when you see my application. I'm excited to be part of this community. I've been a part of this community since 2007 and in the area since 2001, and believe in the values that make this community great, and I want to see my kids grow up in this community like my wife did. And we live here, we're vested in the community. My wife works at the high school, and I want to see this community do the right thing going forward and keep the core values that made this community Bayfield and make it shine bright. So I'm here to just introduce myself, Jason Winslow. Appreciate the time.
Great. Thank you.
Jason?
Thank you.
Is there any other public input? Moving on to approval of the agenda. Has the board had a chance to look at the agenda?
I just had one question because we received the negotiation for interim for Ms. Sickles, and I didn't see it.
That,
Maybe I missed it.
it is on there.
It is?
It's
Okay.
in 5F, and also 3F was a senior center coordinator
okay.
report that I had missed, but that's all been posted.
Yeah, I probably missed it
That's all right.
because it was many different agendas. Thank you. That was my only question.
So we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin. Trustee Cesaro. And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Next is this
Public hearing.
public hearing for the 2025 budget, master drainage plan update, stormwater feasibility study, water and wastewater rate study, and proposed 2025 utility rates. First is the presentation of the 2025 budget.
Would you like me to start?
Sure.
Yes. The drafted budget was presented and circulated to the Board of Trustees on October 11th. The date by state statute is the October 15th is the date that I had to get that out. So the Resolution 632, the 2024 budget supplement, remains the same. That did not change from the original budget that was sent out. That basically is covering, sorry, let me grab it. For broadband, the capital improvement fund, we assumed that that would have been expended in 2023. We actually finished that in 2024. So that increases that expenditure by $416,531. The next budget supplement that is in there is the budget adoption. And in your documents, we have changed that a little bit regarding some of the numbers that have changed. So we're going to go through those modifications, basically regarding Resolution 633. Resolution 634 is appropriations. So appropriations means you've adopted the budget, you have revenue and expenditures, and then basically gives the town, the staff, the authority to spend those dollars. So those appropriations usually equal the same amount of expenditures that are in that budget. The mill levy was adopted by the electorate. In 2023, after House Bill, we have a feeling that that is going to change a little bit. I'm just going to pull up those notes. So that House bill that was adopted at the special session by the state legislature may change whether or not we have to go back to the electorate regarding that mill levy. So it's something that I think all statutory towns are looking at because it did not affect home rule municipalities. It only affected statutory municipalities. The constrained fund balances, that did not change. Those are constrained fund balances that are constrained for some reason. And so those colored sheets in that document basically tells you how they're constrained. Either they're restricted, committed, assigned, or unassigned. So those are, and it basically tells the purpose of all of those funds. The wage scale, when I was first putting together the resolutions, I did not have access to the salary survey that HR Director Keim had put together. So now that I had that, I've just updated that to include those documents, plus some possible FTE changes for especially in admin and utility management. Community grants has not changed either. That one remains the same, and those numbers are all in the budget. So I'm going to take you to the modification sheet that was with the packet. That's a little more explanation of what's changed. So I went from page to page to determine either errors or some updates. So the updated the cover. The modify, there was a error. There was an extra 4 on page 3. Page 4, personnel and labor expenditures reference to sick bank. We've just taken that out. We have asked those 2 employees that have a sick bank leave basically to pay that out in 2024. So that will just be removed out of the employee handbook. And so we'll also remove it out of the budget message as well. The utility, adding the utility manager with changes reflected in the proposed ordinances. Change stormwater fund from Public Works Maintenance to a foreman. Because Jeremy does not have an assistant Public Works director, a foreman that's got some street smarts, stormwater smarts, basically can work on culverts and a lot of other things with both of those skills, a little bit different than collections or water treatment. It would be more of the street smart, stormwater smart type of foreman. Because trustee Cesaro was appointed at your last meeting, we've added that to page 7 and page 21. On page 26, there was still a marshal reference, so we'll just change that to police. We removed $4,000 that was a duplicate already in another code, 010441880099. Added $25,000 to the general fund for customer service rec office remodel, and that kind of that outlay is also in your packet. It's kind of looks like this. It's basically the building kind of identifies for some remodel. And we also increased the computer software from $118,000 to $145,672. Just found out that was just missing from that transfer. During the budget compilation, I did have the access to the salary survey, so that's changed, and of course that's in that extra modification. That shows you the actual salary survey in that document. The staffing, all utility staffing from culture, resources and recreation to admin and modify salaries to reflect the utility manager. It's a 0.80 FTE. It's only adding a half a FTE from a part-time FTE. Increase water and sewer admin fees, each from $229,800 to $240,000. And then to cover additional staffing expenses as we basically work through this utility billing. We're really doing some research to correct some things that probably should have been corrected years ago. Again, modifying the stormwater staffing from Public Works Maintenance to a foreman with some street smarts, stormwater smarts. Chief Hogue also provided a letter regarding a modification to his salary that is not included, and I do have a number here. That number that would add it would be $13,576. That includes any labor expenditures that go with that. The health insurance, we just received some updates, and it looks like we have lower health insurance rates. The staff will be all the employees will be here on the morning of the 7th to kind of talk about health insurance rates and some options of which direction they'd like to go. But obviously we have some lower rates, so that's the direction we'd like to go, and maybe lower rates for the employees as well. I did reconcile this budget with Cassell, so just to make sure that we're not missing any codes or numbers, and so that has been done. Going back to the list or the agenda, I wanted the leadership team basically to provide any just highlights, and so you have a chance to hear from them of what they're doing in their departments. So we'll start with the Senior Center and Carrie Kirkpatrick. We're going to ask you to step to the podium because of the microphone. Yeah.
All right, Carrie Kirkpatrick, Senior Center Coordinator. Just a few highlights at the Senior Center that's been kind of going on the last few months. Of course, serving lunch at the Senior Center, which is catered by the county, is always a highlight of the Senior Center and the attendees that come. We're averaging, anywhere between 50-ish people that come and partake for lunch, and some of the fun stuff that I try to put together there, some raffles and things like that. So it's grown quite a bit since I've been there, probably quadrupled in numbers since I've started about 2.5 years ago. Let's see, we have, I kind of just pushed through what we're calling a senior compassion program. It's always been something I've wanted to do for the Senior Center with donations that we receive. So it's going, kind of being directed to the right place. And so met with Kathy and Katie, and we kind of got that all kind of put together, and we've had several anonymous donations for that. And so we've been able to, so far, serve some seniors with who are maybe having some hardships. Medicare's not covering something, or their supplemental's not covering something. So we've been able to help with glasses for a senior, hearing aids for a senior. We actually helped with a shingles vaccination not too long ago for a senior that had to pay full price that couldn't afford it. So that's been very good. I just got another applicant for that last week that is looking for the Compassion Program to pay half for a device that he needs for, he had cancer and needs a certain device that he's asking for half for. So we're working through that right now. Our exercise classes are growing, which is nice. We did have exercise classes on Wednesdays and Fridays, one from 9:15 to 10, and one from 10:15 to 11, with our exercise instructor, CJ, who's doing more of a sit and be fit type of exercise instruction. And we probably have about 15 attendees between those two classes. And then we just, I met with Katie for our monthly meeting and asked her if we could do Tuesdays. And so CJ is now putting in about 5 hours a month, doing some Thai body work and some yoga classes, one-on-one type things that we're able to offer to our seniors. And we put that out. She's there every other Tuesday, and she was booked the first day. So for every other Tuesday and there's several sessions. There's 3 sessions each Tuesday, every other Tuesday, the second and fourth Tuesday. Another highlight for the Senior Center that is really more of a community impact is our storage shed with device loan-outs, things like wheelchairs, shower chairs, all those sort of things. I get calls almost on a daily basis for people in need of those things. And so we've been able to, I'm constantly turning over all of those devices. People will need them, and then they'll bring them back, or we'll get donations from people for that. But we don't ask for anything for that. We just loan them out, and if they return them, great. If they need to keep them forever, we're okay with that too. So lots of good things going on at the Senior Center, and just lots going on. It's busy. I have to admit, it's busy for one person, and I can't do a lot of this without my volunteers. So I have 3 volunteers right now that help with lunch. Finally got a Friday dishwasher, which you probably know that I've been putting that in my notes for a long time now. And it's actually a Fort Lewis College student that called me and said, hey, I'd like to come give back at the Senior Center and do dishes. And so I was like, okay, let's go. So did a background check, and he's been there for about a month. So
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Carrie, can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
It's Lori, online. Let me know if there's anything you need, because I remember when the health department had a storage zircon pool of equipment. So if there's ever anything you need, I would love to connect you with the partners who may have that equipment for you. So if you're giving and giving and giving and not getting back and still need, I know there's equipment out there with several of our
appreciate it. So far, we've been good. So I've been able to pretty much accommodate anybody that calls or comes in. So thank you, Lori.
Perfect.
So Dustin,
All right, so looking at the budget, my biggest line item, of course, is programs. That's where all the funding comes out of for prizes, jerseys, things like that. I did get a budget supplement last year, which helped out with the rolling out of the new reusable, reversible jerseys. So we are about 20,000, a little more over 20,000 under budget on that line item. So I feel the budget's great for us this year. I do have some plans of adding some events to the 4th of July. And 4th of July is our biggest expense in the programs. We're kicking around kind of some sort of ideas, and I use that as a pun because I'd like to do maybe a family kickball tournament, something else. This year we really got the baseline, DJ and myself, underneath us of what we do as a process of just the basics. So this year I'd like to kick in some more events and make it more fun, but I feel my budget in the programs is definitely doable. I think we can definitely hit that there. We are going to need to do another uniform purchase, but we're going to get that done on this year's books. We're pushing our vendor to get some more out because we had one of our bigger programs roll out, and most all the kids have jerseys, but they're going to outgrow them, and we're going to need some replenishment because they get stained, lost, or some of them, they're pretty nice. Some kids just want to keep them too, so that's cool as well. And the capital improvements that we put down really go toward cutting costs as well. So the floor machine will cut down labor because the one we have now is just not running real well. And then so the other technique is basically it's almost like a yoke. You put 2x4s and these towels on this thing with rope and put it around you, and you dump water on the floor and you drag it. So we really need that floor machine, and it's gonna cut labor. It's gonna just cut a lot, and plus that floor is old, so dumping water on it's probably not the greatest idea. As well as it's got some little holes in it, and the other was ice machine, which is going to cut the 4th of July expense. I think
I'm sure the potential harm to the person's back is also could be costly in the long run.
Could be
too,
costly,
so.
yeah, and yeah, that's so basically it looks like an oxen out in the field. You're dragging it around. So, the capital improvements, yeah.
Did we talk about a floor cleaning machine at a previous year's meeting? It seemed really familiar to me.
we do have a floor cleaning machine that was for the senior center, and yeah.
We actually purchased one from the pawn shop. That was Ryan. That's probably what you're talking about. It's an electrical one.
They can't hear you.
That
Yeah.
was for when we were doing stuff at the old school where we had to clean the floors. Did we, that's not this, is that correct?
No, Ryan Orndorff purchased a used one that's with an electrical extension cord, and it's very difficult to operate on that big of a floor. So he's trying to get a battery operated that's much more easier and simpler and safer to use instead of mixing water and electricity to clean the floor. And it's old and doesn't do a very good job.
Thank you.
It's amazing how much floor machines have been upgraded over the years. They actually have automatic ones now that will clean like big, giant grocery store floors and stuff with no drivers. We're not asking for that. We're going to have a driver on ours. We just want to, we want to get away from the cord. We want to get away from the mold that's in the old one in the drainage system, which is probably, we're talking to Mark, is what breaks it down quite a bit of the time. So, yeah, so that in mind, the capital improvements that we're asking for as well in that budget for the programs item, and with the thought in mind, it's going to cut costs in the long run as well. So.
Any questions?
Nope.
No
So
questions.
Parks and Trails, or Mark?
So for mine, operational wise, I asked for a little more money for training. We do have 3 of us that are full-time now, so we need a little more money for training. Last year, our vehicle equipment maintenance was a lot higher than what it's been in the past. Some of that is due to the new DOT laws that we have to keep in check with. That was a major expense. And then we do have more equipment that we purchased, so it costs more to actually maintain that. I've asked for more in supplies, fertilizer, everything cost is just, it's going up. When I first started, I think we were buying, our bulk bag of fertilizer for like $700. This year, I think it was like $1,500. So everything's gone up quite a bit. For operational, I also asked a little extra for that, just due to the fact that, $5,000 for an operational budget is not a lot for us to be able to work with. That's equipment rental, tools, all the things that we need to do our job. We have made it work in the past, but I just feel like we could use a little extra to get that operational expense up a little bit. This year for parks, and I'm probably the highest out of any department, is capital improvements. The good thing about all my capital improvements is I did get actual quotes before I put any of those numbers into play. We're looking at doing some work at the skate park, the shade structure at Gosney, and the park shop expansion for office space, as well as the vault toilet over at Little Pine. So we do have some good bids on those. For the park shop, we probably will do an RFP and get other contractors involved and see what kind of price we can get. I will be doing more research on the vault toilet. There are laws as far as the waterway distances, and so we're gonna wanna make sure that we put all that in a good location. But there's quite a bit going on. This will all be subbed out. We will not be doing any of this in-house. So basically, we'll be looking over contractors, making sure they're doing their job right. But that's really what we've got, just a few, in operational and a lot of capital improvement.
Questions?
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. 2024 was a very growing year for us with IT and equipment and the changeover and everything that we've been doing all year long. But I feel that what we have accomplished over the past 10 months of this year has put us in the forefront of being one of the best law enforcement agencies in the Four Corners area and beyond. We've got so what we have been doing is really creating a better agency for us, a safer, officer safety measures have been in place. We've been doing a lot of things. So I thought last monthly when we did September's, we had one of the highest calls for service we've had since I've been here. We've had it even more in October. We've done a whole lot more in October for calls for service. Our self-initiated activities almost tripled in the past 2 months. Our investigations on cases, we have several of them that our detective is working on day in and day out. She's also branched out. She's working with Colorado State Police. She's also working with La Plata County Sheriff's Office. She's done some stuff with Durango PD to make sure that we get all of our cases lined up and put together, because they do involve outside agencies a lot of times. The modernizing of our agency still continues, and with your help, we have been able to do a great step forward in, new cars, new guns, new equipment, IT, everything like that. We've been able to identify what was lagging and rebuild. And so what I'm going to get at next is that we test next week. This is the first time I think we're ever have 6 candidates test for 1 slot. And of those, 2 of them were Colorado Post. And the word's getting out about our agency and our town and everything that we're doing here to make sure that we are focused on our community more so than ever. And so that testing will be, I think we got HR's helping me out greatly with this, so we'll be testing next week and the following week all of them, because some of them are a little bit further away, so we're trying to coordinate so we can assist them better to get here to test. Training, we have been doing a lot of training this year with all the in-house training with the computer systems, the cars, the body-worn cameras, everything like that. But I've been working with the Southwestern Regional Training Board. We've been applying for scholarships left and right to help reimburse and recoup some of the costs for our training. Our detective goes next week for her beginning detective course, so she'll get that under her belt, and then we're going to send her to the advanced one, and hopefully we'll get her into evidence processing, and we're starting to expand out that way. Our SRO today, tomorrow, and the next day is in an active shooter class, so help prepare us. Hopefully it'll never happen, but we have to be prepared anyway. With the CIP that we have asked for and that you guys have put in the 2025 budget, will really solidify what we've been doing for the past year and a half. With that equipment, it puts us really in play and well off for the next 5 years. And we're trying, everything with the vehicles, everything with the weapons, everything like that. We've got a new maintenance system in place. All of our vehicle maintenance prices have dropped, so that's been helping out greatly. And one of the big things that doesn't really get this COLA that's coming up really puts a good retention on our officers and our employees. It also is one of the greatest recruiting tools. When they come in, they go, hey, what are you starting at? Well, my agency doesn't start that. They don't give us this. They don't do this. And what we've had designed here with this cost of living allowance, the increase there puts us really in play with a lot of the bigger agencies that we can compete with better now. But I thank you for that. It helps us out tremendously as we move forward down the road.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
So in admin, as we've been talking about, is our utility billing process. You've given us a little break, some shorter town hall hours, which has helped us a lot. However, we're looking at a utility manager, somebody basically to manage that front counter staff. And that would be currently, Kristen's been working really hard at trying to figure out where we have these discrepancies. Anywhere from, we have maybe renters that are turning their water back on, and so they keep piling up the bill, they get another shut off, we shut off the water, and then they turn their water back on, and of course, there's reports that would determine that we've got a discrepancy, water that should be shut off, that's actually metering water. Anywhere from multiple meters that we're just trying to figure out. I think we've got stormwater now. That's a new utility bill determining, that it's being applied appropriately. Currently, right now, it's only a $10 flat fee. But at some point, if you ever decide in a future year to determine based on impervious space or commercial, that would all have to be, updated. So we have a lot of issues that have probably been historical, maybe 10, maybe it was the way it was set up. It was kind of the comment around the board that, a number in Dove Ranch, they got number 1, and then Mesa Meadows got number 2, and number 3 maybe was, on Mountain View. So the problem is that trying to read a meter, you're reading, you're electronically reading them all over the town and not really coming up with some consistency and a way to actually make it easier for public works staff and everybody else. So utility manager would basically be oversight of that person. It's only another half a FTE or almost even a little less than that to add, but also the responsibility increases a lot. So that change would up that salary, and of course you have that salary range in the packet that you have today as well. Facilities and grounds, I think that last year, 2023, that was added, the facilities and grounds. It's been a great, Josh has been really good. We're really doing a lot with our facilities and grounds, really looking at, long-term, short-term, moving things around, locking doors, not locking doors, putting signs out. So I think it's been really good for the town, the long-term management of this facility, the senior center facility, and some of the other facilities that we manage to have have somebody basically paying attention. Also, the opportunity we could get the energy performance grant, probably providing some funding to continue to reduce our energy usage as well. So I just want to say that addition a couple years ago, the utility manager this year, coming next year, I think would be a really good benefit in admin. Unless anybody else in those positions would like to add anything.
Are you gonna talk about the 25 CIP?
I'm sorry.
The addition of the 25 for the CIP? Yeah, or is that later?
That's, that I already talked about. Yeah. $25,000 for, basically to do some, office remodel, to provide an office area. We don't know if it's gonna be $25,000, but Josh is looking at, numbers and a way to reduce those numbers as well. So.
Okay.
Questions?
No.
Public Works.
Public Works. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board. I'm going to kind of break with tradition here. Everybody's been giving you these highlights of the great things they did. I'm here to tell you what I screwed up. So, well, we were going over the budget this morning and, coming up with a couple of points to talk to you about. And we're like, why is the CIP list so short in the sewer fund? Well, we have successfully omitted through all of the meetings that we had, all of the capital improvements that were going to be done in the treatment facilities. So, I did provide a list of that. The grand total comes to about $61,000 for those. Going down the line, we're looking at replacing some H2S monitors, quad fuel gas monitors for safety in there. 2007, those things are getting antiquated. That'd probably be more appropriate instead of trying to replace those filters to upgrade the system for about $15,000. We have some automation and stuff as well that's going in there. HOA switches, which those are basically remote switches that go in for our SCADA operations and automation that allows us to do some resetting remotely versus having to have an operator actually report to the plant for some of the after hours and the evening and on-call operations. The pickup truck made it there. The new BOD fridge is about $6,000. That thing's about 2008. So now 16 years old, somewhere right in there. We'd like to replace it. And yeah, that's the big oops. So we would be requesting that we could add those treatment capital improvements to the budget before its adoption. I could answer any questions that you may have.
Jeremy?
Yeah.
What's the solar PV? I'm assuming it's part of the EPC that Katie was talking about for facilities and grounds?
Yeah, that's for the energy audit. And so that's what basically where Josh just was with,
DOLA and Ray.
DOLA, and who is the energy audit?
McKinstry.
McKinstry and Associates. So that's what that is. And you'll see that throughout in the streets fund, the water fund, and in the sewer fund as well.
So I think my question is, when I was looking at the capital improvements, and when I look at facilities and grounds, there's a column, potential grant for everything that's under facilities and grounds, but there wasn't anything for the solar PV that had that EPC. Is there no grant funding for that, or is this something different from the others up top?
In facilities and grounds, or is that in wastewater, water, or streets?
Well, I'm assuming this is all the same grant, because it has the same acronym. And forgive me if I'm wrong, because in sewer and in water, there's solar PV, and it says EPC in parentheses after, and then up in facilities and grounds, there's a whole bunch of things that have EPC in parentheses, but it also says there's potential grant funding for that. And so I was wondering if there's not potential grant funding for the work you're also doing that has that EPC in parentheses. So maybe I'm just not understanding what that acronym is
So I guess the energy audit encompassed the town organizationally as a whole. So they did look at the public works shop, the town hall facilities, the water plant, the sewer plant, the senior center, and all those things. And that's all tied into the McKinstry energy audit that they're doing. There is potential for grant funding for those. And what they're saying is your debt service would be paid back by the cost savings that you would accrue through your energy savings with that. So that's what that EPC is. I'm not sure what that acronym, Energy Performance
Contracting.
Contracting. So that's what that is through McKinstry. And Josh was just with them in Adola, and they were looking for some grant funding in regards to that.
Okay, no, so I guess what the work that you might be doing with that is separate from the work that is for under facilities and grounds, the lighting, building envelope,
Yes.
indoor water conservation, smart irrigation controllers, senior center ground source, HP. All of
Yes.
that has a potential grant associated with it. So what I'm hearing is maybe for water and sewer, there's not a potential grant.
There is.
associated with that?
There is.
There is. That's all the same study.
So, yeah. So,
Am I looking at an old, am I maybe looking at an old, I have the printed packet of the budget, is that just not there for that?
well, it's on page 20.
Yeah, I'm on page 20, but my copy for underwater and sewer doesn't have anything in the potential grant column for that, those two items. I'm just curious if they were different, or, again, I just have the.
Yeah, 'cause-
So there are, the grants are for in the general fund. In the event that they're in the enterprise funds, the enterprise may have the capital to basically cover some of those. And then they would be energy savings after that. It doesn't necessarily mean they won't be eligible for grants. It just means that we were looking at the general fund first.
Okay, no, that explains it. I just wasn't understanding why some had the grants and some didn't, and that answers my question. Thank you, Katie.
Sure.
And Jeremy.
I guess in the street fund, we did increase crack ceiling, 60,000 from 40,000. We're just not getting the lane miles. We'd like to get to where we could start rotating with some of our crack seal and get through a third of the town. That way we'd be revisiting that maintenance activity every 3 years. So we did talk about that in one of the previous meetings. We're gonna up that, and that will go back out to bid in 2025. We've been trying to change some of our maintenance activities to a 3-year contract. That way we can get somebody on board. We're not spending, the $8,000 to $10,000 to advertise, come up with the engineering costs. We can get somebody tied in for 3 years. And if the costs go up more than 10%, we would have to have appropriate justification that would come to the board to renew that contract, or we can go out and rebid in that aspect. And this will be our second year with crack seal. The reason that we're not pursuing a third with Superior, our current contractor, is just because of the increase in the cost. We felt that it'd be appropriate to go ahead and rebid that rather than just, handing them over a larger contract. Other than that, that's kind of all I have for the budget, other than not wanting to make any upgrades to our treatment facilities. But if you guys are amenable to that, we would really appreciate if we could add that back in. I was talking to the superintendent, and Ron's like, why is the CIP so short? I'm like, what are you talking about? And so that we figured out why. The last hour before the meeting.
Glad you found it out before rather than after.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah, I apologize for that. I don't know how we just omitted the sewer, but yeah. Good job.
It's all right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, not morning. Whew. Good evening, Mayor and Board of Trustees. Oh, it's been a long day already, sorry. Okay, so highlights for HR would be number 1, the COLA increase for all staff. As you can see on the 2025 proposed wage scale, that is an overall increase, a 13% increase of our current wage scale. And again, that allots for a 10% COLA increase for all staff and a 3% increase for merit increase for a performance evaluation. We have several people that are at the top of their pay scale, so this will actually let them receive that merit increase as well as that 10% COLA increase. Just as a reminder, the past, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if we say 6 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, COLA has increased 23.5%. Town Manager Sickles sent an email today stating,
But not by the town. Just
correct, in
national.
general,
Yeah.
sorry, thank you. Yes, no. I'm trying to prove my point, right? No, Katie today sent an email out saying that the town of Bayfield was allotted 3% COLA increase for 2022 and 3% increase for 2023. Just to verify, we did look at 4 files, so it was actually only 2% that we could see per year. So instead of 6%, it was 4%. So, and again, back to that salary survey, we are 11% below average for small town municipalities and 13% below our Southwest region. So this will be great to bring our staff up to a more competitive salary so that we can retain and recruit not just good employees, but great employees. And I mean, I'm sure you know this, but we do have an amazing staff. So that not just do 1 job or 2 jobs or 3 jobs. So yes, any questions on that? Okay, and then the only... You're okay, Lori.
Annually, you should be providing that staff if you're able to, because I know there's some counties that don't. But I like the 3% on that, but if we need to call the 10% something else, I just don't want to set the precedent that we're doing a 10% COLA increase out of the, I mean, it just seems like the wrong way to do the increase to me, just based on my experience. And when I look at other governments, including the state government that I work for right now, 3% seems to be kind of the norm. So where did we get to 10% COLA, 3% merit if we're talking about staff not being on the wage scale or not being appropriately in the wage scale?
So Lori, the other way that you can look at it is it would be a salary adjustment based on the most recent salary survey. You could look at it that way. So if you could say a 7% salary adjustment regarding the salary survey, 3% COLA, and 3% merit, that may be a better way to look at it. It was one way to make it, simpler to talk about, but you do have a good point there.
Yeah, I would 100% prefer not to mix COLA with the salary scale, but I mean, it might be easier to do it the way you have it. I just would prefer not to go the easy route because, again, we're setting precedent for 10% COLA, and that's just not something that I have seen.
Yeah, and the understanding would be it is to catch up, like you were saying, that salary adjustment for over several years. So yes, I mean, if that's what you want to do, the 7% salary adjustment with the 3% COLA, so all staff would receive that 10%, and then allow the 3% for merit for their performance evals, up to 3%.
Yeah, I do think the terminology matters, so I agree with Lori, that's a good catch. I like that, so.
I'm good with that.
I'm in favor of that, yeah.
Okay.
That way we're not setting the wrong precedents in the future.
Sounds
Yeah, again, happy with 13%, but let's just break down a little bit differently.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yep. Okay. And the only other thing I have is health insurance. Like we said, Thursday, we're going to talk to staff about our current Cigna rates for 2025, but then also talking to them about CEBT. There's actually 3 plan options there, and there's actually kind of some extras. And then we both worked together, she worked her magic, to make a little more standardized approach of percentage of the 90% and, for employer coverage, and then 10% that the employee would pay. So a little more fair and equitable for all staff, as well as on the town side as well. So after our Thursday meeting, we will figure out which company that the staff would like to go, and then we'll move forward.
Great.
Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're up.
My turn? Okay. The only thing that I have to add to the discussion of the budget is the reorganization that Town Manager Sickles is discussing in regards to a utilities manager. That will be the only part of this that actually affects my department. That will put Kristen as the utilities manager, as well as the finance tech and a deputy town clerk, or deputy clerk, which will put her directly under my supervision. Which I just want you all to know that I think in my years here, I believe this is a good decision. I think this is a good move to separate the town clerk from the utilities, giving him more time to do his town clerk duties, focus on record retention, record management, digitizing the bucket loads of paper that we still have. So I am in support of that. Once the budget is approved, my job is to make sure it gets reported to the state, and then pay their bills, monitor their spending, hopefully keep them within their budgets, and prepare for the next audit. So that's all I have, unless you have questions for me.
I don't.
Questions?
Nope, makes good sense.
Thank you.
Does the public have any questions or comments or concerns on what we just discussed? Moving on, we'll go to the master drainage plan update and stormwater feasibility study.
Yeah, so this is quite a large document. Catherine Carell is on Zoom right now. I know that we spent a lot of time going through this this summer, and you've got a final that is a link. If you would like a paper document, I'd be more than happy to print this out for you. I just wanted to make sure before I started printing, because there are quite a few larger tabloid pages in here. So just want to make sure that this has been reviewed. This is a couple updates. Jeremy, I'm just going to see if you have anything else to add.
No, I don't necessarily have anything else to add. You noticed when we were going through the budget earlier, we do have the stormwater fund that's in there, and you didn't see that there was a whole lot of CIP items added. I didn't miss those, so unlike the sewer fund. But so in this document, it's rather holistic, and it identifies a lot of problem areas that we have. Now, we did institute a fee, and we are collecting some dollars. We were hoping to be able to stretch those dollars with grant funds, but that's something that'll probably be coming back to you next year and kind of see what type of projects and what kind of funding the board's direction would be as far as to achieve that. There's small repairs, there's large ones, so just depending on what that information is we can really use a lot of the information that's provided here to attack the stormwater problem that we have in multiple different directions.
I think the report was excellent, and it's a good guiding tool, so I don't see any problem there.
Does Catherine have anything to add?
She was going to basically just address any questions that the public or the board had regarding this, so.
Does the board have any further questions?
Nope.
Open it up to public comment and questions, concerns.
I could talk for hours. Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to 2C, water and wastewater rate study.
Yes, so Plummer is the engineering company that did the water and wastewater rate study, I believe in 2018 or 2019?
2018.
2018, and so they've updated it in 2000 for 2024. Their suggested change was basically a 10% change increase in water and a 5% increase in wastewater rates. And so went through this. Again, we've had this through the summertime, went through it. These are things that we rely on engineers to tell us what operations, the capital improvement, and the actual, certifications and all the environmental provisions will cost the town. So.
Does the board have any questions? And again, I'll open it up for public questions or comments. Seeing none, we'll go on to 2D, proposed 2025 utility rates.
Yeah, so, got a lot of paper here. So on the top is a big old red print. There it is. So this is the draft rate info for the public hearing. And so what we do have done in the past is kind of give you kind of a spreadsheet of all those changes in the utilities. And so these are provided in the kind of the colored sheets and those changes. And you'll see that there's 10% in the water changes increase. There's 5% in sewer. And then with our new garbage rate rates, the cart is 41% higher, and the additional cart is 34% higher. So that increase will make sure that if this is adopted, we'll get that out to our customers so they know that this is coming. This was the lowest bid response that we got for reliable waste. So there will be a turnover in garbage pickup for the town of Bayfield. There's residential, there's multifamily, then there's commercial. These are all in town, and then there's out of town. And so the one thing that I have is 10% for water out of town, and I did not raise the out of town sewer, but it probably should have raised that. Because we are finding out that lift station at Gem Village is costing. It is costing us dollars, and now that we're actually keeping track of that, we do have more realistic cost of that out-of-town sewer. So this was done in October 11th, basically to get this out, and if you would like to basically change this to 5% increase for out-of-town sewer, I know they're paying quite, a hefty fee, but then it's also costing the town as well.
Katie, thank you for pointing that out, because that was one of the things I circled when I was looking at the draft rate info. And I'm not trying to make it more difficult for our partners who are out of town. I just want to make sure that we're, again, not setting a precedent where we're not recouping our costs. I don't think, I mean, we should be not losing money on this venture. But I did have a question though. Why is it more expensive for garbage for out of town when that's not managed by the town? That's a private contractor. Because I don't know why they have to spend $5 more for the same trash pickup.
So currently, right now, I know that there's some of the out-of-town garbage rates are quite a bit higher than the town's in-town garbage rates, or even what we're charging for this out-of-town. So it's still voluntary. We provide water and sewer to out-of-town. There's currently, right now, there's no ordinance that requires us to provide out-of-town garbage. But I think that with our new reliable waste, they have interest in basically providing the service and having it billed through the town.
Okay, all right. I just, again, when I'm looking at, if it's more expensive for everything else out of town, I know that the town of Bayfield is not the provider of the garbage service.
That's correct.
The new provider is. So I just didn't understand why they have to pay $5 more for that unless it's more expensive to drive their truck over to.
No, it would still have to be a negotiation at a later date.
And that fee doesn't look any different than what the in-town people are. It's not like it's more. It's the same as what we're paying, right?
So the out-of-town rates are $23.30, $16.31.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher.
It is higher.
Yeah.
And in-town is $18.64 and $13.05. And so, keep in mind, this is not a, there's not a ordinance that basically provides that. It would have to be negotiated at some point with the out-of-town, if they would like. From my understanding, that some of the out-of-town garbage rates are about $40 a month.
Wow.
And I don't have out-of-town garbage, but I'm just getting this hearsay, so I can't say for sure.
I'm also, so if we're gonna raise the rates for, even though it's only 3% for mosquito control.
No.
I know the mosquitoes this year were abhorrent, at least in Mesa Meadows, and I know that Mesa Meadows is not in the middle of town, it's on the outskirts, and there's the surrounding area is not necessarily utilizing that same mosquito control. So I'm just kind of curious how we're going to explain that we're raising the rate there, whereas I think mosquitoes were the worst this year and last year than I've ever seen them while living in the town.
You'd have to renegotiate the contract. The contract was for 5 years, and so this is their increase.
Okay.
And if you'd like me to reach out to them, I certainly can.
Well, I think it'd be good to know when there's surrounding areas that are not receiving the same mosquito mitigation, and when we're seeing higher rates of West Nile virus in the state of Colorado, what that means when we're paying for the service, yet if it's not trickling out to the surrounding areas outside of our service area. I mean, how is it protecting the residents of Bayfield? I mean, I understand increases in cost, but I also have seen increases in mosquitoes. But I'm not, management cost isn't enough. Or maybe we need to figure out a mitigation strategy with our partners that are outside of our borders.
So vector disease control is open to treating private property outside of the town, but they have to get permission. So the best avenue is to contact that private property owner and see if they can give vector disease control permission to be on their property to treat it. Keep in mind, we don't go in the back of fields or the back of houses. It's got to be something open that they can get to, and there's other forms, instead of roadside spraying, there's the pellets, there's other things that could be treated, but they still have to have permission to do that.
And I think this kind of touches on the points that our partners in the room, the Ludwigs, I think I still see you there on the owl, when we're talking about their fields still being kind of swampy because of stormwater. I think that makes another avenue for mosquitoes to proliferate. So I think when we're seeing the stormwater problem, we're also seeing an increase in the amount of mosquitoes we might have just based on water that's sitting in the field. And I don't know if there is a relation or correlation, but I think that there might be some relationship to what they were talking about with what I'm talking about with mosquitoes. And of course, I'm concerned with public health, but I'm also concerned that I can't really go outside of my house in certain months of the summer because the mosquitoes have gotten so bad. So I think it would be a nice conversation to have in the future with vector control on how maybe we can work with our partners outside of the town to improve our health and to improve our ability not to, spread that type of disease with those mosquitoes.
Yeah, Rhiannon has done a presentation just before mosquito season, and it's. I think last time she brought some stuff with her. Tried to explain, that it's from the, and I'm gonna screw up this flower name, the chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum, yeah.
So and it's getting people to understand that that is not a poison, and having that conversation. So even the one Facebook post just got we just got
bombarded,
stabbed over the fact that we're poisoning everybody. It's like, that's not what we're doing. So I wanted to get a statement from Rihanna and just exactly what it is. So.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks.
And just so you know, I was confusing this shorter page. It says out over here with the one that was
out.
The out of town, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do think we need to consider that 5% increase for sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Does the public have any questions or comments?
I just have one more in this one. This is the utility relief.
Oops, my bad.
Do you want to go ahead?
Hang on, I got ahead of myself.
Do you want to go ahead?
It's up to the mayor.
Give me a minute. I got
Okay,
ahead of myself
that's
on the
fine.
list.
So the last thing in the utility cost is utility relief. And so this year, instead of the coupons, we're probably going to have to do it through Cassell and come up with a system that automatically deducts their utility relief off the bill. We are getting a list of people, and we like to see that people are using, first of all, they get LEAP, they get their heating paid for. And then the next thing is they get some of their utility, water, sewer, and garbage discounted as well. So we're going to do that a little bit differently. But this year I've added basically a relief to nonprofits-owned facilities in-town accounts that have a minimum of 90% nonprofit occupational use with a total water usage that equates to less than 12,000 metered water gallons in the previous year that will be eligible for utility relief. So we have the Lions building, the museum, both of those. I can't tell you exact water usage because it is private, but they are both less than 12,000 gallons a year. And I think that, we have both organizations have been concerned that they're paying, for water as a commercial rate 12 months out of the year. And so this has been added, and of course it's up to you for your consideration. And of course the public is here to comment on it as well.
Questions by the board? Okay, Lucy. Sorry.
Lucy Stewart. My concern with the mosquitoes is since we've gotten all this extra water and it's sitting in the fields just like Ludwig's is getting, the mosquitoes, I've lived here since '77. I've never have had the kind of mosquitoes we've had for the last 2 years. And the fact that the field behind us belongs to the church, and they could care less what happens to it, but we get all the mosquitoes. We can't even go outside. And most of the summer, this year, we could not be outside. You either had to get up really early and work in your yard and do stuff. And, I don't know why everything has to increase and be balanced on us. But I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired that every time I come down here, they increase this, increase that. Well, you know what? My Social Security is not increasing. And the fact that, everybody has their opinion and their ideas, but what about us people that are living on fixed income? And we don't see no relief. We have seen no relief this summer from the mosquito control. In fact, we haven't even heard it most of the times that it's in town, and you used to hear it. So, I just think that they are not doing their job. And next year we're going to have a repeat, if not worse, with the way they got that stormwater collection above us. And our houses are messed up. And it's not going to stop. Something needs to be done in this town. And I know you guys were not. Most of you weren't here the last time, but you are here now. And I think you need to start looking out for the community. Not just for what they bring in and tell you this is what we need to do. All this should be negotiable. Thank you.
My name is Ken Garrity. I'm the president of Lions Club Foundation, and I was the one that suggested to some people that Resolution 640 be made. I'm very, very happy with that. I hope it goes through. It will help all the fundraisers in town, the nonprofits in town. Just for an example, you're all familiar with our pancake breakfast. I'm sure everybody in Bayfield has been to at least one pancake breakfast. We work very, very hard at that. We're all volunteers. None of us do anything. People ask, what do the Lions Club do? The short version is we raise money and we give it away. We have to have that money to give away. On our pancake breakfast, half of what we make on our pancake breakfast goes to pay for our water and sewer. All right, that's wiped out from that. And that's not counting the other utilities that we have. And we use, my wife's back there, she's the treasurer, and she's got all the, she's from the bills that we use less than $6,000, 6,000 gallons of water a year. Okay, so we help, the more you can help us, the more we can help people. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Guess there was no public questions for the staff to respond to.
So it sounds
Well-
like just a little more research on mosquitoes.
Right.
Mosquito
Yeah, going
coverage.
Right. Which we have increased the mosquito
Yes.
coverage in the last couple of years. So I do know it's not like we're not just ignoring the mosquito problem, but we had a lot more water this year as well. So where I live, there is no construction or anything going on, but the mosquitoes increased where I live as well. So I think it's a combination for those of you that do have those issues with additional water problems. But I think overall, we're all having more problems because there's been more water this year. For mosquitoes. I'm only talking mosquitoes.
Do you know if Vector also like traps, like to
They do.
figure out, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Sure
yeah.
do.
Okay.
Yeah, and the south side of town gets far more coverage than the north
Yep.
side.
Got it. Okay.
Is there any more discussion from the board or direction?
No, I will say, I hate increases. It costs me personally increases as well. But I also know that cost of doing anything these days has increased. And I also know that for years in the past, we were not charging enough to cover the services that we were providing. And so things like lift stations weren't able to be repaired because we didn't have money to repair them. And so it's this ugly balance of, I hate to increase fees. I don't want to do that. And the other side of that scale is making sure that we are able to, do the repairs that we need and to upkeep the town's infrastructure the way it needs to be kept. And there's just no win-win in that situation, to be honest. My heart says, no, don't increase anything. But yet, if we want more mosquito sprays, it costs more money. If we want, to fix a lift station or, anything else, it costs more money. And it's just an unfortunate thing. It's a hard situation to sit in this chair. I just want you to know I do have the compassion, even though I know we have to increase them.
And November 1st is when LEAP applications can be opened and accepted. So anybody that needs help to fill out their LEAP, we'll do our best. We're not really good at that. We did have an employee at one time that helped actually do that for them. But we do try to keep the applications at our front counter, so.
Maybe we could put some of those applications down at the senior center too? Okay.
Pine River Shares helps with filling them out too, don't they? I think.
I don't know.
They used to.
We'll check into that.
Last I knew was that they could only help with certain bills that they weren't being helped with otherwise. Okay, that's what we were told.
Any other discussion? Okay, I'll close the public hearings.
So we'd like direction, if that's possible during the public hearing, because now you're going to get a final budget for the 19th or the 3rd of December. So is there anything that we have talked about? You have the modifications document. You have Jeremy's.
Sewer emissions.
There we go. I'm hearing to change the out-of-town sewer up 5%. And, we should be having kind of a stormwater stakeholders kind of for some of the current issues, not necessarily the stormwater management itself. So I'm just wanting to make sure that we're not going off in the wrong direction for the next couple weeks.
I think everything that was presented makes sense to me and that we should be doing those things. As long as we have the funds for it to do it, then I don't see any issues. We can't omit those things that Jeremy forgot. Those have to be done. They're not like, you guys aren't asking for something that's unequitable, You're asking for actual needs. So I don't have any issues with any of the changes personally. I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, and I feel like all the meetings that we've had that have led up to this have clearly identified what is needed and why it's needed. And I haven't had anything that's jumped out at me. And the utility manager makes perfect sense. I think that that's a necessary move. So yeah, there hasn't been anything thus far that I have any contention with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that give you enough direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go forward and be fruitful.
Thank you.
So I'm going to close the public hearing and resume with the regular meeting. And then we will we'll be voting on those items and that we went over tonight on the November 19th meeting. So the public.
It'll be on the November 19th meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the public knows when that'll be coming up. And then we'll move on to approval of the minutes and department reports. First up is approval of the minutes for October 15th.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve October 15th regular meeting minutes presented by Town Clerk Dustin Hayden.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg? Yes. Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Wow, that was loud.
And Mayor Ah.
Did we lose Lauren? Okay.
We lost Laura.
Yeah.
Yep.
Quite some time ago.
Yes. Approval of the minutes for October 22nd.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 22nd regular meeting minutes presented by Town Clerk Dustin Hayden.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
So loud.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Town manager report.
Yeah, so I'm just going to bring this up on the screen. I'm sorry, we thought we could have one,
Oh, that's tiny.
one computer here. But anyway, the Bayfield School District, I just thought that they just did a really good job. The architects basically putting that together. Those three workshops were very informative, I think, not only to me, but many of the people that were there. And they're moving ahead probably with a bond in 2025. So just we got to be aware of that, especially if there's going to be any other sales tax or any other tax or ballot by the town of Bayfield. So those are things we just need to know. I thought the mailer, we've gotten a lot of compliments on the mailer, and we do have extras in the town hall so people can come pick up them. We do know that there's people, especially in mobile home parks, that don't get an individual mailer because their manager usually would get one for everybody. So it's there. We are searching for a copier replacement when the current lease expires in March. The copier that we have, I mean, you know, when I was a kid, I remember a Xerox and they were the best, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot better copiers out there, and this has been kind of a pain since the very beginning. So we'll be meeting on that in the next couple of months with staff regarding a new copier. Homes Fund, I think they had a really good celebration. I sat next to a young man. Homes Fund helped him buy a mobile home, or down payment on a mobile home, and he only had 2 payments left. He's a meat cutter in the area, and you know, it's just really heartwarming to see people that are locals that are benefiting from Homes Fund and some of the things that the town is going to be doing as well. So the shared use path, I have to say that weather is going to be a real enemy to getting that done, but we don't have any choice. We do have to finish that as soon as we can in the next couple weeks, hopefully in the month. Yeah. So anyway, we've got to get going on that. Let's see here. Newsletter, as we get close to the holidays, if anybody would like to write an article, I'd be more than happy to put it in the newsletter. I try to get it out. I have to get it out to Specio, who is our express bill pay person, by the 20th. So if you want to write an article, I probably need it 3 days ahead of time. So anyway, it's always good to, have a holiday welcome or greetings or some sort, but certainly welcome that. And if you all want to do it, that'd even be better. So the less I have to write.
Do you have a word count for that you need?
Well, keep in mind that if you look at our newsletter,
Yeah.
try to keep it, less than, 200 words would
Gotcha.
be preferred.
Okay. And what was the date that you needed that by?
Well, let's see, it's the 20th is when I have to send it, so I'd prefer it like the 15th before. So that's next week.
Oh, man. Okay.
Parks and Trails direct, well, let me go there. Does the board have any questions for the town manager?
No.
Parks and Trails Director report?
Yeah, so for the month of October, park staff performed normal operations, lawn and ground maintenance, trash removal, bathroom sanitation, sports field prep, and playground inspection. Some of those operations will be coming to an end. Lawn and grounds and bathrooms, we've shut those down, as I'll go over next. Trash will slow down, so we'll do that once a week instead of twice a week. We did blow all irrigation systems out, and bathrooms are blown out as well and winterized. We did that the third week of October, that Monday, which is when it started to freeze. We also did facilities with Josh, so he was trained and will be able to do that next year. Animus Tree Service, I had scheduled them. They've already done the work. They did do a good job at Little Pine and Eagle Park. However, at Eagle Park, they did not cut the trees back as far as I had asked them to do. So they will be coming back and doing that. Those trees are all cottonwoods. They don't have any irrigation, and I want to bring them down to a size that's manageable. So if they do die, then, we don't have a giant tree to take down, or limbs that are falling and breaking, people's property. So that was done, but they will be back to finish that project at no extra cost. It'll be included in the bid. So park staff did spread out 2 dump truck loads of road base at the park shop. During the monsoon season and snow plowing, the shop yard's just been, a mess, lots of standing water. So we got that all leveled out, and it is a lot nicer to not be walking and driving in the mud. We did cut back all the willows along the bean ditch. I did run that through Mr. Ludwig before doing that. We do this due to the fact that those willows grow at such a high rate, 10, 12 feet a year. And if we do not keep those cut back and maintained, we'll have ditch irrigation problems with overflowing and flooding. We did have a couple citizens stop, and kind of complain and ask why, and I explained this to them. They like the greenery. For me, I like the fact that you can see the park from the road without the willows. I think for the chief of police, it's probably, better for them to be able to see in the park and what's going on, especially at night. So this is something we're going to continue to do. They are going to grow back. It's going to be an ongoing thing, unless, anybody has any, input on that. We'll just continue to do that. And I think it's a good maintenance program as well. Yeah. So, that was done. We continue to have an issue with, and it is a same group of high school kids. I have gotten license plates and vehicle descriptions, given them to the chief of police that are driving recklessly through the parks. My biggest fear with all the people that we have walking, the seniors walk through there, the moms with the kids, the strollers, is somebody getting run over. So we've been given all that information to chief. We have had a lot of police presence in the park. It is helping. I have talked to the kids individually and, give them the opportunity to try and stop, what they're doing, but they're high school kids. So I think also in the future, between Chief Jeremy and I, maybe, some speed bumps, some additional signage, whatever we can do to keep these kids from doing that. They also tear up the parking lots. We have to go in and grade out all the ruts each time that they're doing this. So it's not only a safety issue, it's more work for us to do, which is kind of frustrating for us. So we did get the confirmation from the library to not relocate the water fountain. We're going to remove that, and that will be no more, and we will fill in that hole with concrete in the spring. So that's not going to be an issue that we have to deal with anymore. And they are not going to add one to the library building because it was like $30,000 for them to do that. So they're not going to do that. So that pretty much sums it up for the month of October. We're gearing up for snow and, vehicle equipment maintenance, and those are the things that we'll be transitioning to in the month of November, since obviously we'll be mowing grass and, working on sprinklers anymore. So, you guys have any questions?
I was down in the senior center lot, that kind of dirt lot that's just north of their parking area, and there's a lot of them that park there for lunch, especially with 50, 60 people showing up.
Right.
Can we get some gravel in there? That's pretty
Yeah.
rutted up in low spots and uneven, and
Right.
those people aren't in the best of shape to be walking
Yeah,
around.
we could definitely look. I don't know if that would fall under parks or facilities. We can look at our
Falls under
budget.
facilities, yeah.
I would assume facilities, and, it wasn't that expensive for the road base that we got. I think it was like $300 a truckload. So, and we have the equipment to do that. So we most definitely, if we have the money to do that, I don't have an issue with doing that. So, but yeah, it definitely could use it. A lot of the area could use that, because, it's gotten washed out.
Well, and winter's coming, that thing's
Right.
gonna be a mess for seniors
Right.
trying to get in and
Yeah.
out of there.
And we'll keep that plowed as well for overflow parking. But I agree, it could use some more gravel in there.
Any other questions? Thank you.
guys.
Reference to the reckless driving at the park, I have a 10 o'clock appointment tomorrow morning at Wolverine Academy to hopefully address it.
Or just have them grade it by hand. Right? Yeah, just say, hey, we'll make a
I could
deal. You wanna
donate some
do
rakes for that.
A little, back work might cure that.
Get them out there.
Town clerk?
All right, so just a quick update to my memorandum. Just like Mark, we're transitioning from spring and summer activities into winter. Fall soccer and flag football is done. Great successful season, and it was kind of cool that Frankenstein had to delay their event. Not cool for them, but they did delay it right into our last weekend of soccer, so it was cool to see the park being used right at the end there, because they had the B. Frank event going over there in Joe Stevenson Park, and right across the way on the multipurpose field we had soccer the last weekend of soccer. So that was fun. Great event. I really liked them having it in the park. We didn't have to barricade any roads, so it really kept costs down. Seemed to get great input from LEC on that as well. So moving forward, I think he might be sold on having it in the park over there. So it made the liquor license, beer fencing, and everything a lot easier on everyone. So that was a success story. 5th and 6th grade basketball has started. We had opening weekend last weekend. This will be the second weekend, and I'll be attending that, so that'll be fun for me. We had 37 kids signed up for that. The old middle school gym, we're just getting in our juggling act of trying to fit everybody in. We have a lot of homeschool groups using it, so we're trying to schedule with them to make sure everybody gets to use it and can get in there. We've had movie nights, dance classes. It's really awesome to see it get used for different things other than just basketball and volleyball. So that's fun. Katie was talking about sending out the packet letters. It's really been driving business renewals. I'm probably up to about 60 now that I've already processed and have ready to go mailed out, and that's bringing some income in as well. And a quick update on my last bullet point, K through 4 basketball registration. We do have a date now. Registration will open November 11th, and we will start that season in December.
Veterans Day.
Any questions?
question for me.
Thank you. Senior Center Coordinator.
Well, I think my report for October is in the packet because I typically do not make the meetings. So, but I'll just kind of recap that. Some of this I've already spoken about, our average number of lunch attendees. Also, I gave you an update on the exercise classes that we are offering at the senior center. We hired a dishwasher, a volunteer for Fridays. Rentals are definitely booking up for the holidays and beyond. About every weekend we have a rental in there. And I noticed the line item for Pine River Senior Rentals was not in the budget. If you are wanting that amount, I do keep track of that at the center, and I can certainly give that to Katie, or at least give you a rough estimate on kind of what the rentals are bringing in for the center. It's hard to I see those through express bill pay because if it pays on credit card, it's hard to decipher the different ones. I try to put it in the notes for senior center rentals, but it kind of gets mixed up with all the the middle school rentals and the park rentals and all that. So, but I'm happy to give that number if anybody's interested in that. Another thing that we did was actually started in June and it ended about mid-October was we had a veggie share that I partnered with Pine River Shares with, and they received a grant, Pine River Shares, through I think it was Nourish Colorado, and we were able to offer our seniors every week on Fridays after lunch to come take their pick of fresh produce. So that was actually it was a really great program, and we did a survey afterward to give some feedback to the Nourish Colorado and for that grant, because unfortunately the grant is no longer going to happen next year. But I've been working with Pine River Shares somewhat on another grant that Pam is trying to get, and I wrote a letter of support for the grant application. It looks like it's going to go through. So hopefully we'll have another veggie share for next year because it was a big highlight for about 3 months at the center. And it's always nice to know that our seniors are being nourished well. So, and then just kind of looking ahead a little bit, which I always do this time of year, is we have our big Thanksgiving lunch at the center, which is going to be November 22nd. Numbers could be just out there, but we had to cap it this year. Myself and the county, one for the senior center seating. I can't really fit more than 80 people in there with chairs and tables, so it gets to be a little bit crowded if it's over 80, and then the county is obviously on a budget for food and that sort of stuff, so we decided to cap it at 80. I have about 70 folks signed up, and that doesn't just include seniors, that includes other community members as well. So we have about 70 right now, so we've got about 10 more to go, so if you want to join us for lunch, you better call the senior center this week. And then if anybody wants to volunteer for the Thanksgiving lunch, come see me or call me. We've got a couple volunteers willing to help serve, but I always like to serve the seniors. That's the one day that they don't have to get up and go through the line to get their food. So we like to do that. So if anybody is willing and able to come help serve for the Thanksgiving lunch, that would be greatly appreciated. Other than that, I failed to mention October 1st, we did do a vaccine clinic at the center. I partnered with Rivergate Pharmacy for that, and this is our third one, and this was the most successful one. We were able to serve the community with about 60 folks coming in and getting a variety of vaccines. So we had COVID, the new booster that came out. We offered shingles, pneumonia, RSV, tetanus, and I think that's it. There may have been one more, but the offerings were good, and we were able to serve a lot of people, where they don't have to go to Durango or somewhere else. So, and that was where I was able to use the compassion program money for one of my seniors to get her shingles vaccine. So.
Any questions?
Good work.
For offering the vaccines for the seniors, I know that I really appreciate you making sure that happens, and I attended one of those events in the past, and I know that the seniors are really appreciative of not having to travel when they can just get that in Bayfield. Can you mention again, when is the Thanksgiving lunch when you're looking for volunteers? Is it on Thanksgiving?
No, it's November 22nd. It's a Friday. It's the Friday before Thanksgiving.
Katie, do we need to let you know in case there's multiple of us who volunteer to help so that you might be able to notice it?
Yes, it does help.
Yeah, and just let me know if you can. That way I can prepare for volunteers and have a plan for that. But yes, Lori, thank you for that. It is a good offering for the seniors and also the community. I did put that in the newsletter, and we did have about a dozen people just randomly from the community that were also able to use and utilize that that service. So.
Carrie, I'm sorry, I'm back to the Thanksgiving lunch. What was the time commitment on that?
Probably about 11 o'clock to probably about 1 o'clock. So maybe 11:15. We start serving about 11:30. Might go just a little bit quicker just because we don't have salad bar. We're going to do a pre-made salad. So I would say a couple hours, let's say 11 to 1, 11:15 to 1.
Perfect. Go ahead and sign me up for that.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Lori.
You can sign me up as well.
Thanks. Great.
I'll just notice it.
Thank you.
Sign me up.
Who was that?
Who was that? Corey.
Any other questions? Thank you. Moving on to the financial action agenda, October 2024 disbursements. Does the board have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the October 2024 disbursements.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes.
Changing it up on us.
Data safe security update quote.
Yeah, so town staff, directors met with DataSafe regarding some of the security in our system, our network. I'm not going to identify where they are because this is a public meeting. We believe that the updates that DataSafe provided are warranted. This is a project. This isn't an ongoing cost. The $6,499.99 would be the one time in 2024.
Questions from the board?
Was this already budgeted?
No.
No, okay. And we have funds to?
We have funds. Yeah, at this time of the year, we're okay in the general fund.
Okay. Is that like an ongoing thing that's gonna come across next year as well? Something like that?
Well, if they find another security breach.
Then yes.
Yes.
Okay,
But no,
gotcha.
this is a one-time project. And if they find more, it'll be a different breach somewhere else.
Gotcha, okay.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Town Manager Sickles to execute the quote and divide the quoted amount as applicable to IT applications.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
And Trustee Cesaro. And Mayor Ah.
Yes.
Well, you'll keep us on our toes doing it different every time.
Yeah.
Keep moving
And he keeps
seeds.
adding.
I know, right?
And he keeps adding like he's on his last one every time he says somebody else's name. You're up.
First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor, the board, and town manager Sickles, and the whole community for making my wife and I welcome here. We really appreciate how everybody treated us, and we live in town now, and it's been going really well. In April of 2023, I signed a 3-year contract with the town of Bayfield to become the new chief. And during the conversations with town manager Sickles, I stated to her that I would prefer not to have a performance raise until I proved that I am what the town and the department needed to proceed into the future. For 2025, the town employees are scheduled to receive a 10% salary adjustment / COLA, and I respectfully asked to be part of this as well. I found out early last week that I was not part of that, and so I'm just asking if I could have an addendum to my contract to show that I can get the cost of livings and the adjustments as the rest of the town employees get. I also believe what I have changed or addressed within the Bayfield Police Department since arriving has put us in a position to be one of the top small agencies in this area. There's a lot of things I did change. We did go from a marshal's office to a police department. We have changed all of our weapons systems around. We are now tactically sound with all the surrounding agencies. We are providing officers with better patrol vehicles, which are outfitted with newer equipment. And this vehicle program has allowed the PD to save thousands of dollars on annual repairs. I was part of the design and implementation of the new in-car and body-worn camera system, which allowed us to be in compliance with Senate Bill 217. I was also part of the design and implementation of Spillman, which has been a great asset to the department and our officer safety as well, because the mapping's included in that. We now have an officer with the regional SWAT team. We have a couple officers who are now instructors at the police academy as well. We also now have our first detective. We also have a policy manual through Lexipol. When I got here, I was already a Lexipol administrator. I found out that the agency purchased it in like 2012, but never implemented the program. And Lieutenant Tischer did right before I got here. But when I got into the system, I found out that we were 5 policies short, which were based upon federal law. So I had to have Lexipol reissue every policy over, and I had to rewrite the entire policy manual, which is about 125 different policies. So all those policies are now state and federally compliant now. I am also open to a performance raise if you want to put that in there as well. But I'm asking to extend my contract until 2028 because it'll allow my wife and I to have the security of knowing that I'm in my position till well beyond when I'm eligible for a pension, which I don't plan on leaving in 5 years, but I would like to have some of that security within how I live here and how I proceed down the road. So, but thank you for supporting me and the agency for this past year and a half. It's been really a really fun ride. It's been hard sometimes with some issues we've come up with, but I do believe that we are looked upon very well by the outside agencies now, and we are interacting with them more and more on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, before this came onto the agenda, I was unaware of the fact that he would not be part of the COLA. And what is it you called it? Salary adjustment
Yeah.
as well. I would have thought that would have been included and that the agreement was just merit raises, not necessarily that other piece. I do know that, we kind of have to be fair. I mean, I think it's unfair if he's excluded. I don't know if any legal thing, I mean, he's in a contract, so maybe that.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah.
I've actually addressed this with one of your trustees earlier through email and so forth, but yeah, he's under contract with the board, so it is properly before you to make any amendments or additions to the contract. There are these 2 requests, that is the increase also the adjustments to his term date. And to the extent you wish to do those amendments and add that into his contract, I will also bring the contract up to snuff in that it refers to the marshal throughout, and we'll
Right.
refer to him as the police chief, since we've made that change over the last couple of years.
So, under the given contract, when is he due for some type
years
of rate
from-
increase?
3 years from
2026.
Six, yeah.
May of 2026.
Yeah, the contract was a 3-year term to 2026. He's asking that he be able to participate in the COLA increases, or the salary increase, just as the other employees.
Not the merit.
We heard earlier, I believe that would amount to about $13,000 addition in your budget. And we also heard that from the chief that he'd like the extension of a couple of years.
Well, the one thing I think about is we did not have a rate survey, and now we do, or a pay survey. And so having learned how far behind we were in the pay scale for our staff, I feel that it's justified to bring everybody up to that pay scale that is comparable with other municipalities. We're very fortunate to have Chief. I think he's done a great job. And I'd like to ensure that he stays and continues on with the great work that he's doing.
I also appreciate the fact that he wants to stay an additional 2 years. I think that's actually pretty cool that he put that in there. I also, feel as though with, having a change of leadership with our town manager, as well as having lost Nicole, that, having that stability within the town from one of our heads is important. Additionally, my thoughts are as well, while I appreciate the 2-year extension on his contract that he wants to do that, I don't think it's fair for those 2 years to hold him to not getting a incentive in merit increase in that piece as well. I think at those 2-year time frame, with that additional 2 years, that time frame, he should be allowed to have that.
So would there be an option for you to revise that contract and maybe come back on the 19th?
It'd be fine, and, depending on whether you vary significantly from the chief's request or not, it'll be fairly easy to modify the contract with those additions and with the changes.
Well, I honestly, I don't know if it's a good precedent to be going through this and granting a rate increase at this point. I would have no problem with it in 26, and I have no problem with trying to keep him. I would love to keep him. He's doing a great job, and a 2-year extension would be great, but I'm not sure it's a good idea to, be going back on a contract that we already got.
I'm curious, and it makes me think about future contracts with staff. Do we not consider COLA increases when we do contracts? Because I would feel that merit increases or increases of any type, it's not mentioned in there anywhere. You're kind of tied into one salary, one amount for 3 years, even though there might be cost of living increases that should be considered. I'm just thinking about any town, like anyone who's under a contract versus an employee.
Generally, we've
never considered that?
We don't, and we have 2 contracts basically, and we haven't done that in the past, and we have been reliant on the merit system and the review system in some of our contracts. But in the chief's situation, there is no specificity with regards to a merit raise or a COLA raise.
I just feel like that's a miss.
I agree.
If we want to hire and retain staff, I recognize that? I mean, I know, correct me if I'm wrong, I guess our contract with Katie is, had been, or town manager has been annual. I guess maybe I just didn't think that when she joined us, that it wasn't an annual or it was a multi-year, and I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of, I just feel like it's a miss not to consider those types of things annually versus you sign on for a certain pay for multiple years, yet we do wage scales and we do COLA increases for everyone else, but the person who has the contract isn't eligible for that. It just doesn't sit right.
Doesn't sit right with me either. I think it's unfair. And it's kind of like that concept of, you have somebody, they come in, they work real hard, they're really trying to prove themselves, and they're doing everything that they can, which I think Chief has done an excellent job of, but, hey, he doesn't deserve the COLA raise that everybody else is getting. To me, that's wrong. If it was you personally in your own job and you were experiencing that as well, you'd be completely disgruntled. If everybody else got a COLA raise and you didn't. You got to think about it from that aspect. And for me, that's what I think about. So everybody sitting in this room over here can get a COLA raise except for one person on the corner. That to me is just not okay.
Well, I think to Lori's comment, it is important to put it in there. Just because it's in the contract moving forward, there's no guarantee that there's going to be a COLA raise. It all depends on the budget and where things are at. Right. We are fortunate that this year we can do that salary assessment and bring everybody up to a competitive wage. So just because it's in there isn't guaranteeing that you're getting a COLA. It's not guaranteeing that everybody in town would get a COLA. But this year, going into 2025, we have agreed that that's a priority, and we have a new salary survey that brings things into line for us. So I agree with you, Lori. I think that it should be included as consideration, but it doesn't mean it's a guarantee.
Yeah, and if you look at it, the email that Katie sent out today to us, in the 5 years, only 2 of those years had actual COLA raises. So it's not definitely going to happen every year kind of a thing. I mean, honestly, we have 10% this year. I highly doubt there's going to be anything next year as far as that's concerned. Plus, we're not seeing the big changes in the market just in general, economically. Like, there's been, in the last prior 2 years, a huge increase in just economically.
Yeah,
cost of living for everybody. Your groceries, everybody's experiencing it. But I don't see that happening like currently right now. I don't see it increasing even more right at the moment, over and over again. I don't know.
Well, I just don't think we should do it till 2026, and then if we
Why?
want to write it into his contract after that, I'm fine with it, but
I'm just curious as to why.
because we have a contract.
What about the fairness of?
We
You
have
don't
a
think
contract.
it's unfair?
We have a contract.
You think it's fair to him?
Yeah.
He signed the contract, and contract employees compared to regular employees are different. So you're comparing apples to oranges in a way.
Yes and no. He still could leave at the end of the year and a half, and we are an at-will employer, right? So he could break his contract and leave and go somewhere else. I mean, you run that risk when you do not treat somebody with fairness. I get that there's a contract, and I do get that piece of it, but I personally feel that we did not do our own due diligence to make sure that it was a fair contract for him.
But he could have also.
Well, yeah, that's why we're having the conversation.
Yep.
He's asking us to renegotiate his contract, and he's willing to give us an additional 2 years. I just think it's a big mistake not to think about his happiness within the town with everything else that we've had going on recently. I think we really need to think about that.
Well, and even more so than that is his performance. His job performance has been exceptional. And so to me, that speaks highly as to why it's worth considering doing a modification to the contract. I really don't have a problem with it because, again, I feel that it fits within our salary survey. I mean, he's not asking for anything more than anybody else is getting. So I do not have a problem with renegotiating this contract.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
Someone want to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to modify Chief Michael Hoquet's contract to include an extension of 2 years with the ability to make a COLA and
A salary adjustment.
salary adjustment added into that if those are being given to the entire staff at the same time, as well as for him to be able to earn merit increases on the last 2 years of that extended contract.
I'd second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
No.
Trustee Hartz,
No.
Trustee Katsos,
Yes?
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
No.
Laura's not on Zoom.
She's not, yeah, we only have 6, 3 and 3.
So we'll have to bring it back.
Generally, a tie under Robert's rules is denial
Denial.
of the motion, so motion's denied.
RHA IGA amendment regarding funding.
Yeah, so this was just a minor text amendment. I provided the previous agreement, and then in the packet is the newer agreement. I removed kind of some of the other signature pages for like Ignacio and Durango, so it just has the agreement in the packet. It's minor. It was already signed July 16th, or it was approved by the board July 16th of 2024. This is just a minor text amendment.
Has the board had a chance to look over the text amendments?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Mayor Ah to execute the RHA amendment.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes.
Trustee Katsos,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro, and Mayor Ah.
Yes. Action agenda items. Modify KRW Associates Agreement.
So the agreement has been updated by KRW. The original authorization was for Town Manager Sickles to execute, and I feel that it really should be changed to who is going to execute the KRW agreement.
Would that be HR? Would HR be an appropriate
It may
person?
be one of the trustees, actually the mayor, who could execute the agreement. And probably best if it is one of the trustees rather than one of the staff members, in the event there's, in the unlikely event there's a breach.
Gotcha.
I'm fine signing the agreement.
And to that agreement, we added, I think pursuant to Trustee Katsas' suggestion last time, a termination clause as well as the payment clause to be doled out over time, not in one lump sum. So we've added that, and they've accepted it as of today.
Great.
Pleasure of the board.
Sounds fine.
Probably need a motion.
Oh. Sounds good to me.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Town Mayor to be able to negotiate and sign, not negotiate, just sign the execute, thank you, the KRW Associates Agreement with the changes that added the termination clause and the payout clause.
Precisely.
Thank you.
Perfect.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro? And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Bayfield liquor retail license renewal.
I reached out to Chief and applicable staff on that, and there was no negative feedback for Bayfield Liquor renewal, their retail license, and as well as on 5C for Family Dollar, there was no negative input. That is their first renewal.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Bayfield liquor retail license renewal.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro? And Mayor Ah.
Yes.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Bayfield liquor retail license.
We just did that one.
Oh, sorry.
Family Dollar.
The one below it. Make a motion to approve the Family Dollar retail license renewal.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
I was unaware, but yes.
You didn't know Family Dollar sold liquor?
No, I did.
Yeah, they started it. This is their first renewal, so they started it last year.
That was actually the first new one I did.
Yep.
So it was Family Dollar.
Nice.
All right. Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro? And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Ordinance 506, Water Division's modified staffing.
Yeah, so I gave you kind of a long paragraph about why I like these ordinances modified. And most of it is basically just to change the staffing identification. So in the staffing ordinance, the water divisions modify or identify the town clerk. In the sewer divisions, they identify the town clerk. In this, I'm just asking it to change to to the utility manager or the town manager designee. So even if it is the town clerk at some point, at least it would be designated by the town manager versus just appointed or anointed in an ordinance, so.
Is there any questions from the board? Looking for a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 506.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro? And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Ordinance 507.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 507.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro? And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Line item F, interim town manager contract.
So I may let Town Attorney Goldman address this one to begin with.
Yeah, so the last meeting of, what was it, the 22nd?
Yeah.
This board convened and was discussing an interim town manager and had some discussion with Katie about the prospect of her staying on as the interim town manager for a 4-month period. There was some suggestion about a bonus amount that would be paid. And subsequent to that meeting, Ms. Sickles and I have had discussions and emails back and forth comparing various forms of an interim contract. The contract that is before you is the negotiated contract, and there has been a comparison of what, based upon what was suggested is to be paid out, and what we've come up with. There's actually a savings in this interim contract if you forego the search for an interim town manager, continue on with Ms. Sickles for the 4-month period, and it's all contained within the form contract that's now before you.
I'm happy with the negotiated contract. With the amount of grants that we have out there and Katie's knowledge of how those are going to be paid out and what to do with them, I think it's imperative that she continues to be an interim for us, as well as some of the other things that they have going on, as far as, the billing and that sort of thing, and the utility piece of things, to get that up and running, and that way it has a better flow to the whoever gets chosen to be the next town manager.
Yeah, I feel that the contract fell right in the wheelhouse of our discussion, so I have no issues with the contract whatsoever.
Yeah, and the dollar amount was what we discussed as far as an interim would make.
Yes. Yep.
I agree, I think this is in line with what we discussed, and I think based on the outpouring of support we've seen from the community, I think this is also what the majority of residents in the town would be in favor of for the interim, while we are looking for someone to fill the big shoes that Katie has been for our town for the past 4 years. So I think that this would be the best continuity of operations that we would have going from Katie to our new town manager, and it's within the budget that we discussed at our meeting 2 weeks ago.
Is there any way we can get input from the staff and see where they're at with, we were going to get staff's input no matter what we were going to do, and I just would like to.
Well, I think monetarily it's inappropriate to ask them, but you can ask them about having her continue, but
gone back and forth with Katie for 90 days now, on both sides in a variety of ways. And I think it's time to stop. The staff has got to feel like they're going through a bad breakup by this point. She's here, she's not here, she's here, she's not here. I think it gives us too many restrictions as far as having her as an interim. I think we're giving too little credit to our staff who just 6 months ago went through a leadership development, a $25,000 leadership development, I think it was. I think that we can, the rest of the year, we're winding down. I asked Katie at the last meeting if I could have a list of or does she have a list of what needs to be completed by the end of the year or, moving into the next year, because somebody asked I think it was Lori, what we could take off of the list at the beginning of a new manager coming in. And Katie's only response was that she's already working 120 hours a week. If she's working 120 hours, why isn't there a list? So I just feel like if we have Katie until the end of the year. If we could, and if one of the staff members would be willing to take on a role of not an interim, but just a point person while we're going through this process. I think that we really have a staff together that's been with us for a while. We have confidence in them. We feel good about them knowing their jobs and doing their jobs. We're not taking advantage of that. So and this is 90 days we're going on. We could have been so much further in this process. We didn't have a vision when we started this process because there was no succession plan. And now Katie isn't even gone and we're having issues with billing. We're having issues. We just sent out a huge mailing that we really don't have kind of came out of nowhere. And we have the whole payroll thing where 9 months ago we didn't have an issue with payroll. So we have some things coming up that we need to move through and move on. If you were looking at any employee that quit your organization and came back and asked for more money and less responsibilities, is that the go-getter you want at the head of your organization?
Okay, so I would like to make some comments. First off, on the last comment about being a go-getter, I think that she's been very amicable to stay with what she has been put through by this board. And I will be very plain in saying, at our last meeting, we all agreed that, all of us agreed, we all said yes. Attorney Goldman, go into negotiations for Katie Sickles because we want to keep her as an interim. And now we're coming back and saying, we don't want that. Who is going back and forth? It is not Katie, it is us. We need to stop that. The staff would be better off not having 3 different managers in a 6-month time frame, but having just 2 and going from somebody who knows what they're doing and knows what the town is going through, teaching the new person or being that interim for that new person that's coming on board.
I'd like to unpack what Alexis said, actually. Do you think maybe we could get feedback from the staff to see which has the bandwidth and the desire to step into being a point person if we don't move forward working with Katie? I would like to know the answer to that question.
Who knows how to do grants?
We know all of the options in front of us. So is that something, I'm not putting any staff member on the spot right now, but is that something that we could potentially revisit at our next meeting? Just a proposal.
I would be open to that.
all for moving forward with Katie being the interim. I don't want to get you wrong, but I would like to entertain what, Trustee Marks has said, because I would like to know if our staff has the bandwidth to do something like that. I'm not quite sure, but I don't want to not give a staff member the opportunity to step into that role if they feel that they could adequately do the work of maintaining everything that Katie has been doing and also do their job. So I'd be willing to, could we make this decision at our next meeting?
You know, I'm okay with it putting it off to the next meeting, but I'll also say that we did discuss the fact that the staff was already up to their eyeballs in what they
Yes.
have to do, and we're already feeling short-staffed as well. So just a reminder on that piece, but, I mean, if we got to move it out a week.
So okay, this is Marie speaking, by the way. We also posted the interim director position as of Friday before we renegotiated Katie's contract. So I have not closed those yet. We do have, I mean, if you're looking for staff, okay, I can discuss with them. But we also have, I mean, I think I have 12 applicants already. You mentioned Jason also applied. He's here locally. And I think maybe half of the 12 people are pretty qualified. So, I mean, yes, I can inquire. We can also look at, you know, if staff has any ideas to moving forward.
I think
what that
inquiring
might
would
look
be
like.
fine. I still support her, but if that's
I think
what we
should
need to
put-
drag it out to another meeting, then that's fine. I'm sorry, I'm very frustrated.
I'm willing to look at having a staff person or two fill in as need be.
Do we really have someone that's qualified to step in and do their full-time role,
Plus hers.
plus Katie's, plus Nicole's? This isn't just Katie. This is much greater than that. And I feel like we are at this place right now because there wasn't any foresight. There wasn't any plan. There was just an attitude to terminate her contract. So, you know, we're trying to shore this up. We're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to ensure that the staff has continuity, that the staff has confidence that they can just come in and do their job. So, and this flip-flopping, Trustee Harts, this flip-flopping, where you say one thing,
Excuse me.
and then you flip.
It's recorded.
I know.
Everybody
it is
can see
recorded,
that you
and I
said yes, direction to
yes,
that.
I did
Yeah.
give direction to
So it's not a flip-flop.
negotiate it.
It is a flip-flop. I mean,
No,
you
it
can't
isn't.
sit
It
there
is
and
a
say that it
flip-flop.
isn't. If
And
you say yes one day and you say no the next, that's flip-flopping. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna just intervene at this point. You guys really aren't being productive. You've made your points.
Push it to
and-
next week.
And let's revisit this, should we have that opportunity.
So are we revisiting the whole thing as, like, including Katie?
not?
Also
Well, you
revisiting
haven't
Katie
voted,
next week too,
you haven't
again?
voted to discard the contract as presented to you today. There was a request that you perhaps explore whether some staff members might be point persons or a person to fill in the gap in the meantime. There has been a suggestion also from your HR person that there are perhaps other candidates in the wings, but unless there's some motion or direction you want to take today, there should probably be some sort of report back to you at the next meeting.
well, and there's cost to this. Every time we push something out, every time we change, I don't change my mind, but every time members of the board changes their mind, there are costs incurred from that. The lawyer alone. So, you know, are we not making decisions? Did we not make a decision in the last meeting? This is worked out, this is worked out, this fits in with the parameter of the pay, the compensation that we landed on. It's all here. So what is going on with you guys? I mean, I don't understand it.
This was the direction at the last meeting. This 100% was, and Katie falls within the parameters that we had set. So we should have been voting today to move forward, but it sounds like we are not. So I agree with you, Kat. Sorry. I thought that this was the direction we were going, but if we now need to see if staff are able to do this to maybe finalize that we will move forward with this. I personally don't want to interview people and have an interim and then have a town manager. I would rather have Katie as our interim and then interview for a town manager so that Katie can train that new town manager with everything that she knows about our town. We need to do what's in the best interest of our town, not what's in the best interest of the 7 people on this board.
Correct.
I don't see how not having that continuity and not having that transfer is not like the most ideal scenario. You always want to train your replacement. So having Katie then train the interim, and then that person work for a couple months, maybe more, and then train the new person, it just doesn't make sense. I feel like we have a slam dunk right here, and I don't understand why we have to push it out. But if it means seeing if the town staff think they have the time to do this, which I already think that the answer to that is no, but I want to make sure they have the opportunity to state that to this board so that the board understands that that is or is not an option. I don't know, maybe one of you sitting there right now is like, hell yeah, I can step up. I can not only do my job and Nicole's job and Katie's job for, this is kind of frustrating. I would just like to move on. I don't feel like interviewing people. Katie can do this. It's within the budget we talked about. We talked about this at the last meeting, so I don't understand why we can't move forward. It doesn't make sense. But since there's only 6 of us here and we could have a split vote, I'd rather push it to the next meeting when there's 7 of us and we have like a for real majority vote.
Is there any staff that feels that they can take on Katie's role and Nicole's role along with,
I think that's a great HR question.
Right?
If anybody is qualified for that position.
Correct.
That's within the staff.
I would like to, I mean, if that's the direction you want to go, I think they need to have discussions amongst themselves, if there's 1-point person or if there's 2-point people, to discuss that moving forward. I don't think putting them on the spot here is fair.
No, not at all.
To them. So I would just ask that, I guess, we revisit next time. I can speak with staff. Maybe I can work with the attorney, if there are any staff willing to see what that might look like and bring that to the board on the 19th.
I'm totally good with that.
Okay.
Make your motion. Oh, yeah, man, Lucy wants to talk.
Go ahead, Lucy.
Okay, guys, enough is enough. You accomplished, and you accomplished what I think you accomplished. I'm calling you out. But here's the reality of it, guys. It's affecting my pocketbook. It's affecting all the people from this resident in Bayfield. You know what? You got somebody with all the knowledge, willing to give you her time, willing to give you to help you get the right person that you all think you want. You know what? Take them up. Why are you flip-flopping? Why do you think you have to keep flopping? I don't understand what your goal in this is. It's costing me, the taxpayer, and everybody that lives in Bayfield money because of the crap that you guys are doing. Enough is enough. You guys had a meeting. The meeting was that you guys were going to, that's why Katie and the attorney went and have been talking back and forth, because that's what the board wanted. And now you don't want it? Enough. You know what? You need to do what's right for the people of Bayfield. You need to do right for what you were elected for. Not your agendas, and not what you want to, and not what you want to come in and sell to other people. Enough. When you make a decision sitting up there, then you should sit on it and stick to it. You're buying yourself some time by having Katie do this job until you have time to get a person in here that is going to be doing that job. And you know what? When I went and I started doing my medical career, I'd rather have somebody that knew the job and knew how it was done versus somebody that, oh yeah, I've done this for a month, I've done this for 2 months, but didn't know how this whole system worked. You know what? You are losing a lot, and you're costing me money. And if you don't care, and you really don't want to be up there, and you don't want to do for the good of the community, then it's time to buck it up, guys. Put it in your pocket and walk out the door. I'm calling you out, and I'm not going to hide behind it. I'm not afraid to come up here and tell you guys. I am sick and tired of coming to this, that you guys make a decision, then you change it. Is that how you run your everyday life? Look at the mess we already have in town, and we're just going to continue to add to it. Enough. Own it.
Any other public input? Well, if we make a motion, I think I know how this vote's going to break up. So we're probably better off waiting until the next meeting.
We are better off waiting until the next meeting.
Okay. So then we'll close that out. Marie, you got enough direction?
I think you have to make a motion to table it.
There should be a motion for tabling this until the next meeting.
I need a motion to table this agenda item till the next meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to table the interim town manager contract December 24th through March 25th until the next meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
No.
Trustee Katsos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Board of Trustees reports. I don't have anything up at the moment. Trustee Nyberg,
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Hartz,
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Katsos,
Nothing at this time.
Trustee Moreland,
The Regional Housing Alliance meets next Thursday.
and Trustee Cesaro.
I'd like to re-become the liaison for emergency preparedness, and I will have a report for the board at our next meeting. It's late, and I don't feel like reporting here right now, I'm tired.
I like that idea, Lori.
So do I.
I just thought we had a really great exercise in Mangus
Okay. The November 7th special meeting was for an interim, which we don't need to go there. Planning Commission is November 12th. We don't need the 14th for a meeting. And then next meeting for the board is November 19th.
So all of these are canceled, the 7th, the 14th, and the 18th. Is that correct? All I know is I was told the 18th may be a meeting, and I don't know anything about that.
Yes, they're all canceled at
Oh,
this
they're
point.
all canceled, okay.
And the town offices will be closed on the 28th and the 29th. I'll adjourn this meeting for November 5th, 2024 at 9:24.